Do it now. I told you, do it.
Coming to you live on 2K Sports. The starting fives for our game. Here are tonight's starting lineups. First for the Spurs, Parker and Danny Green are your 1 and your 2. And in the middle, out of Brazil, taken with the 28th pick back in 2008, the 6'11" pivot man, Thiago Splitter. Then there's Kawhi Leonard, and it's Duncan in at the 4 spot. And looking at the Pacers, George Hill at the 1, Paul George at the 2, and starting 7'2", one of the true giants in the game, another great big man out of Georgetown, Roy Hibbert. Then there's Danny Granger, and it's West in at the power forward position.
Well, that was a quick foul for him there. The refs are certainly calling it close.
Granger against Leonard, and George kicks it to West. Clock at 4. And it's going to be out of bounds. The Spurs. A moment to check in with Doris Burke. Doris?
Kevin, Greg Popovich and I got a chance to talk for a bit. They are up against Danny Granger, who is a guy who can hurt them in a lot of different ways. He talked about what his team needs to do to slow down Granger. One key will be to make sure he has to work for every shot, saying, if in the corner, we're toast. We have to make him work for every shot he gets.
Great. Thanks for the report, Doris. There's the feed to Hill. Gives him the lead pass. Leonard with the steal. And Parker with a clear path to the hoop. That drops. Parker's got his second basket.
How many times have we seen him do that? Just batter a defense with his ability to explode to the basket. You know, a big part of why the Spurs were so good last season, guys, was that they were able to finish games strong. You think a group of vets might run out of gas, but the opposite was true with this group. They turned it up down the stretch and were one of the most productive teams in the league in terms of fourth quarter points.
Unable to get the ball in bounds. They get called for the 5-second violation. And just over a minute played here in the start of the game. Well, Clark, a big part of why the Spurs were so good last year in the fourth was because they had so many options when possessions, Steve, start getting critical and the game is tight.
Well, no question. You got Parker to create off the dribble. You can always throw it into the low post to Duncan. But on top of that, you've got a roster full of guys who understand how to play the game and know how to play each other. Just the experience that this group has gained together over the years, I think, allows them to execute under pressure. That's 2 turnovers already in just the first couple of minutes of play, so he's going to have to pick up his game.
Tipped away. Throws it from deep. It's rebounded by Indiana. And George, here we go. Lays it up, and despite of the excellent defense at that. First quarter, about a minute and a half in.
Well, you look at Paul George, my man, PG 24, the young swingman out of Fresno State. Boy, he had a terrific year last season, was the most improved player last season, and a first-time NBA All-Star. You consider how young he is, just turned 23, and he's got the potential to make plenty more All-Star games, and I think he could ultimately be a defensive player of the year at some time in his career.
Duncan with the bucket.
Giving them an opportunity at second chance points with some hard work on the glass there.
Granger dishes to George. From outside, off the mark. And for Paul George, the 10th pick back in 2010. What a terrific find for the Pacers.
Well, he was already a good player, but I think the injury to Danny Granger last season created the opportunity for George to really emerge as an all-star. And that's exactly what he did. Dangerous inside and out, excellent defensive player, has a chance to be really special.
And the call will be against George Hill. That's his first foul. Luis Scola, he's checked in for Indiana. Green kicks to Parker. Once again off the mark by San Antonio. And out of bounds as San Antonio gains possession.
Difficult to explain that turnover. I mean, I guess he thought he had more room than he did, but he really lost his place on the court.
Takes it from 10, and that one's good. Duncan.
Their offense already flowing. Some stellar shooting while jumping out to this lead. Well, high-quality shots, and they've been on target with them.
Now here's Granger. And the foul called on Daniel Green. That's foul number 2 for him.
One of the bright young head coaching stars in the league, Frank Vogel, took over the Pacers on an interim basis 3 seasons ago and immediately paid dividends. They had a strong finish to that season and his first season in a competitive first-round series against Chicago, and that success has continued to build and grow, and Frank Vogel deserves a lot of the credit.
Well, he's an exciting young player. Almost 6'10", great athleticism, length, dynamic finisher at the rim, and he can guard multiple positions defensively.
And you know what, Steve? His growth defensively has been just as impressive. He uses that length to great advantage, contesting shots and coming away with deflections and steals.
Matt Bonner, he's checked in for Tim Duncan. And Coach Vogel, the second youngest coach in the NBA last season, but he'd been working in the NBA for 15 years, Steve, prior to that, prior to becoming a head coach.
Yeah, 5 years as a video coordinator, a couple seasons as an advanced scout, and then 8 years on the bench as an assistant. So he's definitely paid his dues and learned a lot on his way up the ladder.
Here's Ginobili. Following the basket by George Hill. Leonard, the open look. That falls, nice feed that time for Manu Ginobili. Leonard's got his first basket. Pacers trail by 4. And out of bounds as San Antonio gains possession.
And not a good idea throwing the ball down the court that far.
San Antonio making a switch here. San Antonio with the ball. Ginobili gets the bucket.
Just seems like they're finding an open lane to the hoop every time down. That's 5 buckets in a row for them in the paint.
Yeah, on the flip side, Steve, the defenders have to show more fight on the interior.
Out of bounds. Pacers ball as Indiana keeps possession. Watson, the pass to Granger. Stevenson. Here's Scola.
They've done a terrific job rebounding here so far, allowing no second chance point.
Here's Stevenson. He kicks it to Watson. Clock at 6. And the basket by Scola.
I'll tell you what, the post play has been rock solid right off the bat.
Well, that's the key to basketball. Get the ball inside, into the paint, either with a pass or with penetration.
And that one's good.
Took advantage of some shoddy defense there. They've got to at least get a finger on it.
And there's the pass to Stevenson. Granger for the 3. It's rebounded by Boris Diaw. Spurs leading by 6. And it's Chris Copeland with the foul. That is his first foul of the game.
That's his first personal foul. 13 foul.
There's 1:26 left in the first. A shot by Bellinelli. No good.
And it is very dangerous to leave him open like that. Lucky break for the defense that he missed it.
Stevenson kicks to Watson. Granger inside the line. That one wide left.
Well, I tell you what, that's too good a look to pass up there. Even though it didn't go, that's one you got to take.
Let's look at the energy stats, how the hustle game has been going for the Spurs.
But great hustle defensively through 2 quarters of play, contesting everything, starting to rack up those block shots, guys.
They've gotten their fair share of points off turnovers so far tonight, too.
And Parker drops them both.
Boy, his free throw shooting, just another reason he's such a good all-around player.
Here's Watson. Drops in the layup for 2. San Antonio leading by 6. Parker drives in, and Luis Scola gets the whistle that time. That's his first foul of the game, and the bonus will go to the free throw line. And Clark, you're right. They've done a great job of cleaning up the misses and limiting second chance points.
Well, because they've done a nice job blocking out and everybody has been concentrating on blocking out and pursuing the ball, they've not given up any second chance opportunities.
Hustle, too. Gotta hustle.
Yeah, you got to go after it.
And it's going to be out of bounds. The Spurs will take it.
That's a poor possession. You just give away the ball with a sloppy pass.
There's 53 seconds left here in the opening quarter. That's a 2 from Parker. Rebounded by Luis Scola. Scola's got his 3rd rebound tonight. Here's Stevenson, and the officials call goaltending, so they'll award the basket.
I think they need to get much more disruptive defensively. They can't just keep allowing these easy baskets.
I agree. They need more energy in the post, maybe some double teaming. They've got to get their defense in gear.
Bonner, and is stuffed right through. Well, Clark, a clear lane to the basket and the emphatic jam.
And that is outstanding attacking basketball.
Well, he had no choice but to take that one to the bucket.
And that's out of bounds. Indiana will retain possession. 24 seconds left to play in the first.
Well, they find themselves with a big deficit here in the first. One category that jumps out at me, second chance point. Only one bucket for him.
And here is Scola. And Stevenson kicks to Watson. Rejected by Bellinelli. Now here's Ginobili. No good on the buzzer beater. A free-flowing first quarter. Great scoring through one. All right, the second quarter beginning in just a moment.
Well, Indiana's success last season was built around its defensive prowess, and they usually would set the tone at the start of the game. They were one of the best in the league at allowing the fewest first quarter points.
And Doris Burke has a report for us from the sideline.
Hey guys, Roy Hibbert, a 17th overall pick back in 2008, but there were concerns about him, that he was too slow, not athletic enough. Hibbert said, people said I wouldn't be in the NBA. People said I wouldn't be a starting center. I just proved people wrong, and hopefully I'll be the best when it's all said and done. The best? He added, quote, I will be the best center in the league one day. With his remarkable improvement thus far, he's not far off.
Well, you combine that size and that will to dominate. He's become a big factor. Great stuff, Doris. Thanks. Splitters checked in for San Antonio. Going back to the Pacers once more, you knew they wanted to emphasize defense each game, and Steve, they would always come out and get right in the offensive player's face to start the game.
And they allowed the fewest first quarter points of any team in the league last year, Kevin. That's a great way to kind of set the tempo, set the tone in a ball game. And the Pacers were able to establish that defense right away. You know, they really aren't putting up any resistance on the low block. That's the 5th consecutive basket inside.
And Steve, these looks they're allowing are almost automatic.
You know, size-wise, this is not a great one-on-one matchup for him, but he got that shot to go.
But you wouldn't know it by how he finished. That's a nice hoop there.
That's the 10th straight point they've given up in the paint. I guess the good news is they've taken away the outside shot.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter how good their perimeter defense is if they're going to allow inside looks as easy as that.
Here's what San Antonio's going with right now. Duncan comes in for Boris Diaw, and Tony Parker subbed in for Manu Ginobili.
Well, if you're going to learn from someone, you might as well take some lessons from Tim Duncan. That's what Thiago Splitter has done in San Antonio, really kind of growing up under the tutelage of one of the great players of all time.
And Splitter taken 28 by the Spurs way back in the 2007 draft, but they had to wait 3 seasons, Clark, for him to come over from Spain. And as Greg Popovich was saying just this past season, he's finally showing what he can do because he's been healthy.
Yeah, agreed, Kevin, and I think it was a wait worth making,
yes.
Quite honestly. I mean, one of the premier backup centers in the NBA the last 3 seasons, and he earned himself a nice payday with his new contract, too. That shot becomes effortless for him when the D is so relaxed. They got to get more intense.
So the Pacers call timeout, their first of the game. Indiana making some changes. Mahimi's checked in for Hibbert. Hill comes in for Luis Scola. And Orlando Johnson subbed in for Lance Stevenson. Hill drives in. Johnson for 3. Good. The assist goes to Hill.
Well, they've finally gotten into a rhythm offensively this quarter, and if they keep shooting like this, they won't be down for long.
Well, Steve, you can see them looking to cut that lead down little by little to turn things around, and that's how you got to do it. How do you eat a big pizza? One slice at a time. And, guys, they continue to put a lot of pressure on the interior defenders with the way they work down low.
Well, it's become one of the stories of the first half, Bart, just piling up points in the paint. That's what they call the $1 million move with the 10-cent finish.
Here's George. A stupendous finish in traffic. Now just a 4-point Spurs lead.
Pretty much all of their buckets coming from inside the paint now.
Yeah, that's 5 of their last 6 baskets inside the lane. They have really established themselves inside.
Guys, you go back to the shortened season a year before last, and the Spurs were the best team on the road. But last year, they weren't nearly as dominant on the road. Still solid when leaving San Antonio, but far from the level they played at a couple of seasons ago.
Spurs leading by 4. Passes it to Green. Duncan with it. George picks him up. And Duncan gets it to go in. Duncan's got 6. For Indiana, they've gone 7 of 9 in their field goal attempts here in the second quarter. Pretty good offense. And for the Spurs on the road last season, they would still win 23 games in hostile territory. And while that is more than the 22, Steve, they won in the shortened season, they also lost a fair amount more as well.
Well, for the Spurs, Kevin, I think they did what they needed to do. You know, the Spurs manage the regular season. They know when to turn it on and when they can maybe relax a little bit. But the big thing is they just want to stay near 500 on the road, protect their home court, and be healthy going into the playoffs, and that puts them in a good position. Well, if the Pacers wanted to grab the attention of the league with their postseason play, they certainly did that. They marched through the first 2 rounds by knocking off the Hawks and the Knicks, and boy, remember, they were a game away from the NBA Finals.
And San Antonio calls the first timeout of the game. Ultimately, the Pacers would fall to the Heat, but they put them to the test. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They gained respect league-wide even more than they had going into the playoffs. It took 7 games, Clark, and you saw them all, which a lot of folks didn't see coming.
I know that's the case, and yet the way the Pacers showed such grit in that series, it indicates they can compete with anybody. And when you have a defensive anchor like they do in Roy Hibbert, they've got a chance to be a championship team before long.
And let's catch up with our sideline reporter, Doris Burke. Doris, over to you.
Well, Tim Duncan was offended after last year's finals when reporters asked if he'd consider retiring. He said, "I can't believe you're asking that question. It's been 5-6 years you're saying we're too old." And guys, it's true. This is a team that's been written off season after season, and they find a way to keep their window open. Coach Greg Popovich said, quote, "Vacation is overrated. You can only grow so many tomatoes and read so many books." Guys, until they say they're done, you never count them out.
Doris, the Spurs win percentage over the Duncan era, the best of any team in NBA history over a 15-year span. I'd have to agree with you.
I tell you what, he can do a lot more damage to that rim than that when he wants to.
And you know, Clark, with the lead they're enjoying, I'm surprised he didn't put a little something extra on that one.
Me too.
Well, I think he did plenty of damage anyway. It was only with one hand, but he threw it down pretty hard.
Right back to the basics there, using the one-hand slam for that.
Doesn't he make the basics look pretty exceptional?
Yeah, he does. They look sweet when he does them.
Well, he should stay with those basics in a tight ball game because we've got one here tonight.
It's off his foot, and the ref's saying he kicked it. There's a minute 34 left to play here in the second quarter. And here's the break. Here's Granger, and he makes no mistake on the slam dunk.
Boy, I love it. Active hands on the steal, active feet on the fast break.
And Clark power on the dunk.
And guys, this is just too close of a game to be giving the ball up like that and then failing to get back in transition.
Well, it's not often you find a player like Paul George who, as tall as he is, can play 2 guard. But when you do, you're going to see some really big numbers in rebounding from him. And that's what George does. He wants to average double-digit rebounds.
And Parker drops them both. And Clark, you mentioned the height of Paul George. 6'8" when he was drafted. He actually grew to 6'10" in his rookie season, Steve. So he's a young guy that's continuing to grow both on the floor and physically.
Yeah, he may be 7'2" by his 4th year. I'll tell you, though, he gives you power forward size and rebounding with guard skills. It's easy to see why the Pacers are so excited about him.
Does he remind you of anybody in particular?
A little bit like Scottie Pippen, you know, early in his career. Maybe not quite as strong as Scottie, but a similar skill set.
Time called here. Indiana decides to talk it over. And as with any timeout at this point of the game, important to go over the strategies that are working and those that are needed in terms of adjustments. And, of course, the opportunity, guys, to get hydrated with Gatorade before coming back onto the floor. We've seen some good action so far, and there's more of it to come.
Yeah, this game has been physical. It's been fast. It's been high-paced. So anytime you're in a situation like this where it's really a hard-fought game, critical to keep yourself hydrated throughout.
And as you might expect for the team with the second-best record in the West, the Spurs dominated the East last season, played each team twice for a total of 30 games, and went 25-5 in that stretch.
Gets it to go. Green's got 6 in the quarter.
And he's starting to pick things up here after a tough first quarter. And another foul would give him 3 before the half, something to keep our eyes on.
And Clark, back to what you said about the Spurs and the East, it was far and away the best record against the conference, Steve, for a team in the West.
Yeah, the second best record was Memphis with 22 wins. So kind of scary to think that they rested their big stars a few times against teams in the East, and they were still able to put up that kind of a record.
One thing that always translates from team to team is defense. No matter who you play, if you can challenge shots and bother shooters and play together, you'll win, and that's why the Pacers had so much success against Western teams last year.
DeColo dishes to Splitter. Cannot hit, and Indiana will come the other way. They get it again. A second chance effort. Hibbert with the block. There's a 4-second difference from the shot clock to the game clock. Scola, he's guarded by Diallo. And Copeland kicks to Watson. And Boris Diaw picks up the foul. That's his 3rd foul so far. Bonus situation in effect, so we'll head to the free throw line for 2. The Pacers have only made 2 attempts, shooting poorly at the line in this one.
Yeah, they're getting to the line an awful lot in this quarter, and it's not an accident. They've been very aggressive.
Yeah, it's been very intentional. I mean, they've picked up the aggression, and it could get them out of this hole.
And the official signaled a backcourt violation. Not very careful there. .11 seconds left in the first half of the game. Out of bounds. Pacers ball as Indiana keeps possession. So it's the Pacers now. 8-point game. Watson for 3. The shot misses. Good if it goes. Can't get it to go. And so we conclude the first half. Spurs out. Now the second half about to start up and begin any moment.
Indiana has their hands full guarding against Manu Ginobili.
He's got 10 points, and from long range, he's hit 1 3-pointer.
Yeah, and you'd expect by the end of this game, I'm sure the numbers are going to look even better.
Time called here. Indiana decides to talk it over.
Well, I think this is one of the more amazing stats in sports when you think about it. No matter the season or the roster, the Spurs just seem to find ways to win 50 games. They've done it 14 straight seasons now, which is off the charts.
Pacers trail by 8. And Clark, as you said, the Spurs last season hitting 50 wins for the 14th consecutive season. By the way, that's an NBA record. Second closest were the Lakers with 12 straight, Steve, from 79 to 91.
Yeah, 58 wins last season for San Antonio. Greg Popovich calls it corporate knowledge, just the consistency that comes with the experience of the group. And they've been together so long, particularly that core, that I think it allows the Spurs to really kind of cruise at times.
And this sort of awesome dunk is one of the reasons this team is in charge of this game right now.
Clark, there is a swagger out here on the court that they possess and are not afraid to show it either.
That's right.
Those are phenomenal dunks to watch. So much fun.
The drive by Hill. Noah. Great D that time from Green.
It's a +5 advantage for them in the rebounding category after that board.
Very steady work they've been doing on the interior, no question. And that's, I think, the main reason they have this lead.
Well, George Hill, one of those unique stories, playing with his hometown Indiana Pacers. He's a native of Indianapolis and Broad Ripple High School. Was drafted by the Spurs, played in their system for 3 years out in San Antonio, and was acquired by the Pacers in a draft day trade back in 2011, and it's worked out well for both teams.
Spurs leading by 12. And prior to last season, the Pacers signing George Hill, 5-year, $40 million extension.
He's a good player, a really good combo guard, can shoot it well from distance, can run a team. Maybe not a traditional point guard, but somebody who can help you win. I think it was a good move for the Pacers.
For San Antonio, they have made 9 free throws in the game, 14 attempts. Free throw good, Green.
Boy, this is a neat story, guys. Danny Green was undrafted out of North Carolina. And another nice find for perhaps the best organization in all of sports, the San Antonio Spurs. He's an excellent three-point shooter, over 40% from three-point range for his career. He helps that team spread the floor, and that energizes their high-powered offense.
There's the foul. It's on Mahinmi. That'll be his second foul of the game. The Spurs have gone 3 of 3 from the field since halftime. It's stolen by Hill. Now the Pacers moving it up with the lead pass. And good on the basket. Book it. Stevenson's got 6 points. And Green, nice versatility, too. Not just an outside shooter.
No, he's an excellent defensive player. In fact, Greg Popovich calls upon him to often guard the opponent's best wing player. So for Green, a two-way player, a guy who can get it done at both ends of the floor.
And that one's good.
And still perfect here in the second half. 4 for 4 from the field.
Time called here. Indiana decides to talk it over.
You know, the more you watch Kawhi Leonard play, the more you realize that he is the perfect fit for the Spurs. I mean, he just looks like a Spur, and he's only been in the league a couple of years. He plays great defense, shoots from deep at a high rate, and really knows, accepts, and embraces his role on the team.
And back to Kawhi Leonard. Coach Popovich sees him as their defensive stopper on the wing. But not just that. He thinks he's going to be a star in so many ways, Steve.
Well, he could become the face of the franchise, Kevin, if you think about it, once Tim Duncan and Parker and Ginobili move on. But, you know, Popovich, not one prone to hyperbole, but he absolutely loves this kid.
Catching up on the changes now for Indiana. Paul George, he's checked in for Mahinmi. Granger comes in for Luis Scola. And it's West in for Hill. Time called here. The Spurs decide to talk it over. San Antonio leading by 13. Ginobili, that's for 2. David West grabs the miss.
Finally a miss, but still 4 for 5 shooting to start this third quarter.
Well, I tell you what, Greg Popovich, a really impressive leader for the Spurs. He's able to keep all of his players locked into what's best for the team. Has a military background, played basketball and studied at the Air Force Academy before serving 5 years in the Air Force. And you know, some of the leadership that he brings to his position was learned from his past experiences.
He hits the second from the line. And Clark, you mentioned Pop's time at the Air Force Academy. That's where he got his start in the coaching ranks.
Yeah, 6 years as an assistant there. He was head coach at Pomona, an assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors and the Spurs, and eventually moved into the front office in San Antonio. But wow, what an amazing run it's been for him. 17 years as the head coach of the Spurs.
And there's the call on Ginobili. That'll be his second foul of the game. A little under 2.5 minutes gone by here in the third.
That fourth foul might force him to scale back the aggression defensively a little bit. He does not want to pick up number 5.
Pacers have had a disappointing game so far from the line. Only 3 free throws made.
Well, this is a club that shot 75% as a team from the free throw line last season.
Off on that one, so he goes 1 for 2 at the line.
Such a solid performance for them inside. Their rebounding has been terrific.
Yeah, that's just one of the few things that have gone their way today.
Pacers trail by 13. Got a piece of it. Parker with the steal. Leonard attacking. Blanketed by the D. He fights to the rim for the layup. Leonard's got 6 here in this quarter. The Pacers have gone 3 of 5 to start the second half, developing a nice rhythm out there. Duncan, the pass to Green. Paul George with the steal. Dishes it to Granger. Puts the lead pass in front of him. Here's West. Nice D from Ginobili. Spurs leading by 15. Parker kicks to Green. Excellent D there from Stevenson. And turnovers, Clark and Steve, have been the issue for him.
Yeah, it sure has been the case. I mean, turnovers are like missing breakfast. Eventually, it's going to cost you.
Why does it always come back to food, Craig?
And Lance Stevenson picks up the foul. That's foul number 2 for him. Splitter is checked in for the Spurs. Diaw comes in for Tim Duncan. Outside, Ginobili. David West grabs the miss. West has got 4 rebounds in this game. And George, here we go. The feather touch on the finger roll. Beautiful. George has got 8.
Well, the drive to the bucket was nice, but how about the finger roll finish? Beautiful.
Leonard dishes to Ginobili. To the middle. Here's Splitter. And there's a nice one-handed slam.
Tacks a few more points onto their lead with the tomahawk.
Ah, that's bringing it down hard. Bringing it down hard, my brother. And out of bounds as the Spurs gain possession. Daniel Green, he's checked in for Manu Ginobili. Spurs leading by 13. He dishes it to Splitter. Pass to Green. It's stolen by Watson. The finish. Throws down the breakaway jam.
Textbook example there of how to use defense to create offense.
Yeah, beautiful transition play after the steal all the way to the basket.
Wasted no time going from defense to offense.
And it feels like they're starting to pick up the intensity as the game itself starts to get a little more tight and close. And his stroke has been dead on. Inside, outside, wherever. The shot's just falling for him.
Tony Parker had a phenomenal 2011-2012 campaign, but as is the case with Greg Popovich, he challenged Parker to improve upon that for last season. Popovich told him, good players can be great for a little bit, but great players are always great. And that really resonated with Parker.
The Spurs making a switch here. Bellinelli's checked in.
He just has not been able to get into that groove yet, guys, but as a whole, it hasn't affected them too much.
Second chance shot. Hill. Rebounded by Splitter. Splitter's got 5 rebounds tonight.
I think the game plan needs to change here, guys, if they're going to get out of the hole, because he is not helping their offense.
And we'll get a look at how the hustle stat game has been going for the Spurs.
Contested shots and block shots. They're bread and butter defensively. They're giving up no easy looks.
And another area where they've done a great job tonight is forcing the issue defensively and getting some steals.
And Indiana making a change here. Stevenson's checked in. Think about how great Parker's been. We forgot his career almost came to an end in the summer of 2012. This is a very interesting part of his career.
That's right. He was an innocent bystander at a club in New York when a melee erupted and bottles were thrown. He got a shard of glass that penetrated almost through his left eye. Very easily could have lost his vision and lost his career.
Bellinelli gets the bucket. Pacers trail by 16. Back to Hibbert. Stolen away. And here comes Bellinelli leading the fast break. Looking for Splitter. He gets it there. The shot is off. Great D that time from Hibbert. The Pacers have gotten half their shots to drop in the second half up to this point, going 7 of 14. The 3 from Hill. San Antonio with the rebound. And Diaw kicks to Splitter. Into Diaw. Just 3 on the clock. A free run to the hoop and some thunder on the finish.
Not exactly the way the D would have drawn that one up.
And when you got the space, hey, you might as well throw it down. That's what I always used to do.
And here at Ford tells the story in this matchup. But we'll see how much things change up here. West against Ginobili. David West grabs the miss. West has got 5 rebounds tonight. Stevenson passes to George. That's good. George has got the 4th quarter going with the first basket of the period here for Indiana.
He's doing his best to carry him, fellas, but he can only do so much. Things would be different for them if he was getting a little more help.
Hibbert. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him 2 chances at the free throw line here.
And the offense just getting right to the rim, but at least they saved the layup with the foul.
That's old school basketball rules. I mean, at the end of the day, no easy layup. Earn it from the line. When Hibbert came into the league, guys, everybody assumed he'd be a project, and that's been accurate. But projects can pay off, and to have a player with his size and work ethic and skill is a huge payday for the Pacers.
Back to Parker. Puts it up. That falls. Nice feed that time for Manu Ginobili. Ginobili's got his 4th assist in this one. George dishes to West. And Tim Duncan gets the whistle that time. That'll be his 2nd foul of the game. And going back to Hibbert and Clark, you mentioned he's looked at as a project when he came in, taken with the 17th pick, Steve, back in 08 in a draft that you were involved with Phoenix.
Well, we took Robin Lopez at 14 because he just had much better mobility athletically. We were shocked that Hibbert could eventually develop the kind of speed and lateral quickness that he's done. So pretty impressive that he's put all this work in and defied his critics.
Watson for 3. Cut the bucket.
Defender there in the neighborhood, but not quite close enough. Good shot.
It's Parker with the drive. Kicks to Ginobili. Lets it go with the 3. Gets it to go. And the Spurs lead by 19.
How about the response? Retaliation. Impressive, huh, guys?
I'll say exactly that as well. Nice job to recover those 3 points right away.
Stolen by Ginobili. Here's Parker. Banked in off the glass. Parker's got 4 points in the quarter. For Indiana, they've gone 2 of 3 from the field to get the 4th quarter started. George. And airballs the triple. That one was way off.
I'd love to see them impose their will a little bit more on the backcourt. Usually that's a great way to take control of the game.
Well, they haven't been able to do that yet, but it's something they're certainly capable of.
Hibbert kicks to Granger. The tray. And yes, sir, that one drops.
D there, guys, was pretty much non-existent. I mean, you can't leave a good shooter like that open.
San Antonio calls timeout.
He did not look too happy about some of the things he saw on the court. So I would expect some changes here.
I think it's the right move, quite honestly. I mean, they just didn't look sharp or at their best out there. So take the timeout and give yourself a chance to regroup.
A different look now for San Antonio. Splitters checked in for Matt Bonner. Green comes in for Tim Duncan. And Boris Diaw is subbed for Kawhi Leonard. The drive by Green makes it off the glass. Green's got 9 points here in the 2nd half.
That's what they're hanging their hat on today, fellas. Hard-nosed, smash-mouth play down on the low block.
To me, that's the key to any game. Who can win the battle in the paint? And right now, they've got it going. That's flat-out embarrassing.
Splitter, that's good.
That's where you like to get shots, inside and close to the hoop.
For Indiana, they've gone 3 of 5 here in the 4th quarter. Pretty good numbers coming out of the break. Offensive rebound. Here's West. So the whistle blows on the shot and 2 free throws for the contact right there. And that one misses.
Well, you got to love the season from David West last year, coming off the ACL tear back in 2011. I think he's completely back as far as that injury is concerned. He was so good last year, particularly in the playoffs.
Here's Green. And that one goes in as he is fouled. It'll be 3 points if he converts at the line.
His shooting's been outstanding. Definitely one of the reasons his team is up in this game.
And David West, Clark, the locker room leader for the Pacers last season, helped lead them all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, and a guy I know that you greatly admire.
Oh, my goodness. Love the way he does his work. I call him Real Deal 21. There's nothing fluffy about what he gets done, and he's so smart and so savvy in how he approaches the game, and really a lion in the locker room for the Pacers. That's why that team was so tough in many ways, particularly defensively. Well, they've only got a slight edge in rebounding when you look at the numbers, but it certainly feels a lot bigger than it is.
Well, the score has a lot to do with that, but just based on that, you'd think the rebounding gap would be huge.
What a great game for Granger in this one. He's got 11 points and 2 rejections.
That free throw, no good.
You know, when Danny Granger was out with injury last season, he saw that the Pacers team had become really Paul George's and Roy Hibbert's team as they became the new faces. While some would throw a fit about it, Granger said he was proud of them and happy to take a lesser role. He just wants to get back out there.
And when Granger is healthy, Steve, he's certainly a great player.
Well, you love his versatility, his ability to play both ends of the floor. A tough defender who can guard multiple positions. Offensively, he can put it on the floor, get to the rim, and he's got three-point range. But really an excellent all-around player.
Shot is off. Great D that time from Stevenson. Indiana's gone 2 of 5 on three-point shots since the end of the third quarter.
2 minutes.
No luck. And San Antonio will go the other way with it. And that one's good. DeColo.
Boy, it's been a poor defensive effort. When that ball has gone inside into the post, they've been in trouble.
Yep, points in the paint clearly going against them now. That's really a tough call. One you don't like to see, but it was called, and now he's got to really make sure that he's on top of his game here in regards to not picking up another foul. That was his 5th right there.
A different look now for San Antonio. Matt Bonner, he's checked in for Splitter. And Kawhi Leonard subbed in for Daniel Green.
Well, Danny Granger played only portions of 5 games last season, guys, and basically was trying to overcome a torn patella tendon in his left knee. Had to be terribly frustrating for him.
Bonner, that's a 2-pointer. And misses it off the right side of the rim. Pacers have gone 5 of 10, 50% from the field. And Copeland kicks to Granger. Off target from outside. Spurs leading by 23. And a long road back for Danny Granger.
Yeah, I know the frustration dealing with a lot of knee issues of my own in my career. It's difficult when you have to face that year after year. Hopefully Granger will be able to come back and maintain or regain, I should say, that all-star form that he once showed. He could be a huge addition to this Pacer team.
A team right on the cusp, obviously.
Yep. He's definitely turned things around in this game. I mean, he was more of a background player in the first half. He's jumped center stage now.
Out of bounds, Indiana takes possession. Indiana making some changes. Mahimi comes in for Luis Scola. And it's West in for Danny Granger. San Antonio calls timeout. They're up by 23. 1:07 left in the fourth quarter. So San Antonio going with an almost entirely new group here. Manu Ginobili, he's checked in for Matt Bonner. Duncan comes in for Boris Diaw. Tony Parker's checked in for Marco Bellinelli. And it's Green in for DeColo. Outside, George. And the foul called on Daniel Green. That will get him his 4th foul of the game, and due to the bonus, we will head to the line for 2. That free throw good from George. And George drops them both. There's 53 seconds left to play in the final quarter. Leonard with the ball, and it's Johnson picking him up. And Parker, here we go, and taken away by Johnson. He feeds it to Hibbert. Foul call. Looked like the D didn't get there in time, and he'll shoot free throws.
After signing the big contract, a lot was expected from Roy Hibbert last season, and he put a little pressure on himself, but he also had a wrist injury, got off to a slow start, and didn't find his groove until the calendar turned to 2013.
He doesn't get the second one. And for Hibbert, first-time All-Star in 2012. His slow start cost him a shot, I think, to repeat as an All-Star last season. That was after he signed the big contract, too, with the Pacers.
Yeah, but he sure recovered well, because in the second half of the season and the playoffs, he was one of the best players in the NBA. In fact, gave Miami all kinds of troubles in the East Conference Finals.
And both free throws good for Green.
I tell you, Tim Duncan turned back the clock last season, didn't he? One of his best in years, and one of his best seasons ever when it comes to blocking shots. For a guy who doesn't get a whole lot of elevation, it's his timing that allows him to be a shot blocker without bouncing real high.
It's back to Hill, and Tim Duncan gets the whistle that time. That's his third foul so far. Bonus situation in effect, so we'll head to the free throw line for 2. First one falls for him. So he picks up just 1 from the line that time. San Antonio's gone 1 of 2 from three-point range here in the 4th. And the call will be against George Hill. That will get him his 4th foul of the game, and due to the bonus, we'll head to the line for 2.
And that's just a flat frustration foul right there.
Boy, down like they are, he just took it out on his opponent. I mean, you've got to keep your composure. I don't think that was one of his best moments.
Leonard hits them both. Here is Watson. It's tipped. And here's George. Lets it go from deep. The offensive rebound. Here's Hibbert. He cans that one.
It's a great play under the boards for him. And, you know, that's the standard that he sets. It seems like all those second chance points, I mean, they're